Welcome to Back to the Futures, the official podcast of the Futures Collegiate Baseball League, presented by ChangeUp. I'm Owen Shadrick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Johnny Maffey. Johnny, how are you today?
Thanks so much, Owen. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, watching, and listening. We are just 9 days away from opening day in the Futures League, and we're super excited.
Yeah, the countdown continues to opening day, just 9 days away. We are extremely excited. Feel like we're on a broken record saying that, but seriously, it cannot come soon enough. We're really excited, too, for this interview. We had CJ Knudsen, the senior vice president of one of the two newest teams, the Vermont Lake Monsters, on the podcast today. Episode 3 of season 3. Really excited for you guys to hear this one.
Yeah, CJ's super excited to have baseball back at Centennial Field in Burlington, and we're excited to have Vermont in the Futures League.
Yeah, really excited. And without further ado, we present our interview with CJ Knudsen.
Let's roll.
At this time, we are honored to be joined by our next guest. He is one of the GMs of the two new teams in the Futures League, and he is gearing up for his first summer in Burlington, Vermont in the Futures League. It's CJ Knudsen of the Vermont Lake Monsters. CJ, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Doing great, Owen. Thanks for having me. John, how you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're excited too, and we're going to get right to it here. What can you tell us about the process of the Lake Monsters joining the Futures League?
Well, it was definitely a roller coaster ride. Obviously, as everyone's aware, Major League Baseball decided to reorganize the way minor league baseball worked and also looks. And so they eliminated 42 minor league baseball teams last year. And so the Vermont Lake Monsters were trying to figure out where they're going to land. The Futures League turned out to be the perfect option for us. And along with that transition, the Vermont Lake Monsters were sold from the former owner, Ray Pecor, to our current owner, Chris English. So the timing was perfect. But with that being said, the sale became official on around March 15th. So it's been a tight timeline trying to relaunch the franchise and get ready for a Futures League season.
Yeah, so we're super happy that the Lake Monsters are in the league. We're super happy that the league is now up in Burlington, Vermont, your hometown. Why the Futures League? Was there any other stuff on the table for the Lake Monsters?
Well, I think there's a couple different options that the Lake Monsters could have looked at and joined, but at the end of the day, Futures League's great. It's the same number of home games as the New York Penn League was, which is 38 home games, which is great. The quality of baseball, I would say, is even better than the New York Penn League. We're going to have some great baseball players this season joining us at Centennial and in Burlington. And from our standpoint, the fans are just super eager to come back out and cheer on the Lake Monsters. And that's what's important is, same uniforms, same name, same mascot, champ dancing on the dugout. So it'll be a very similar fan experience, and people are really excited for opening day.
Yeah, we can't wait to see some baseball at Centennial Field. So we know how the Lake Monsters joined the league, but how did your return to the club come into fruition?
When Chris English was getting ready to purchase the ball club from Ray Pecor, he reached out to me and asked if I'd have interest in kind of coming back to Burlington and joining the Lake Monsters again, which technically this is my third time here. So I started out as an intern at the Vermont Expos back in 1995, rejoined the organization in 1997 as their assistant GM, and then became the GM of the Vermont Expos / Lake Monsters in 2000. I was with that ball club for 10 years as their GM before moving to Norwich, Connecticut to help launch the Connecticut Tigers, which is now the Norwich Sea Unicorns, which is also a team that happened to join the Futures League this year. So it's a lot of it comes full circle for myself. And so Chris and I were able to figure out a great game plan for me to come back to Burlington, which is an area that I grew up in. So my family members live up here. I grew up in this area, went to school in this area for high school. And so it's just nice to be able to reconnect to the Burlington market.
Yeah, we'll get to that Norwich Sea Unicorn story a little later, definitely. So now you and Chris English obviously have this new chapter in a business relationship wise coming up this summer. But what's your relationship like with him, and how do you get in touch with you?
It's a great relationship. Chris is a wonderful individual. He's obviously a big baseball fan. He owns another team in the Futures League, the Brockton Rocks. He grew up in the Montreal area. He's a big Expos fan. He used to come down to see the Vermont Expos play years ago. And so it's just really a natural fit. So it allows him and allows this market to have baseball close to Montreal. So after the COVID storm is done, then our friends north of the border can come down and cheer on the Lake Monsters. Chris and I are really working well together. I love his vision and I love his passion for the game of baseball and really for the community.
Right. So speaking of passion for the game of baseball, Pete Wilk is the Lake Monsters' brand new head coach. He was at Georgetown for quite a bit of time. How do you know him? What went into that decision, and why Pete Wilk?
Chris was actually the one that found Pete. Pete has been at Georgetown for 20 years. I believe he just retired. I had a chance to meet with Pete a couple weeks ago here in Burlington, which is great. He's a great guy. He's obviously very talented, great baseball guy. And so he's really looking forward to a fun summer. Centennial Field is one of the oldest ballparks in the country. So the field itself was built in 1906. The current grandstands were built in 1922. So it's got a ton of history. Thousands of players have been through there, not only from the Reds and Mariners days back in the 80s to the Expos days to Nationals, the Oakland Athletics. So it's got a ton of baseball. So Pete's looking forward to taking the reins, leading the charge. He's been great to work with. And we also have our director of baseball operations, Morgan Brown. Morgan played at Harvard, played professionally for a little while. And so these guys really know the game of baseball and have been able to recruit, scout our players for us, which is exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited to see that unfold in a couple weeks here. We are so close to opening day. And speaking of opening day, and you just touched on Centennial Field, we got to have you put your marketing hat on for a second. What should fans look forward to most about visiting Centennial Field and watching baseball in Vermont this summer?
Well, I think the most important thing is baseball's back. I mean, there obviously was not a season last year across really most of the country, in terms of minor league baseball or a lot of the collegiate league. The Futures League did play last year, which is unbelievable that they were able to field a season, which is, awesome. Baseball's back. We signed a 5-year lease with the University of Vermont, which is exciting. Getting ready to plan a lot of renovations to the ballpark, a lot of fan amenities to the ballpark, which will start for the 2021 season and then hopefully be finished prior to 2022 season. And we have a lot of our old standby promotions, with the, hot dog hysteria, which is 25-cent hot dog night at the ballpark. We're doing that 3 times this year. We're going to have 2 post-game fireworks shows. We're going to do a handful of giveaways and some outside entertainment acts. We'll definitely have a lot of fan entertainment for our fans, even despite getting a late start. We'll have some giveaway items for the fans to enjoy and take home. And, it's been a challenge, but it's also been a fun challenge to see if we can get the franchise launched and ready to go. Our home opener is Saturday, May 29th, which is great. We did make some adjustments. We were able to move 2 of our games originally scheduled in May to July to try to navigate through the COVID waters and Vermont COVID restrictions as well.
So you got to tell us more about that 25-cent hot dog night. Has that been going on since the Expos days? Was that there when you were there in your first or second stint? Or
Yeah, it's been there for years. It's a fan favorite. We serve about 9,000 hot dogs every night when we do hot dog hysteria. So 25-cent dog, it's a great product. It's Mackenzie Hot Dog, which is a local hot dog vendor. Fans are eating a lot of hot dogs that night. So it's a pretty awesome promotion. I think fans really have been waiting for it now for almost 2 years for it to come back. So I think they're going to be extra hungry this year.
I'll be sure to make it up that day, definitely.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're still talking about COVID restrictions. Will fans be able to experience all that Centennial Field has to offer despite these restrictions?
Yeah, for the most part. May, we're allowed to have 300 people max unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, it's unlimited, which is great. Once June 1st arrives, we're allowed to have 900 people unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, it's unlimited. And then come July 4th, there's no restrictions at all. There's no social distancing, no masks required. And so it'd be a lot easier to operate, from a standpoint of selling tickets and getting people back to the park. We have a majority of our home games really in July and August, which is great. We were able to move 2 of those games in May to July to help kind of combat that. It's going to be interesting without a doubt, to say the least, for the first month or so of the season. But once we, get through that, then it'll be back to normal operations and a lot of great promotions. And the one thing I love about the Futures League is the schedule. The schedule wraps up mid-August. The New York Penn League, normally we'd start in mid-June and then wrap up early September. Those are tough days at the end of August, early September to draw fans, to have people still be excited about baseball, because they're starting to move on to things like thinking about football and going back to school. And the chilly nights in late August, early September in Vermont, it doesn't feel like baseball weather sometimes. So we're excited that the season wraps up nicely in mid-August.
Yeah, it is a longer season, but a season that ends just at the right time, as you said. And you just touched on it. How have you worked with the town of Burlington to get the Lake Monsters underway and still abide by the restrictions, at least until July 4th, as you said?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a partnership with the state of Vermont, Chamber of Commerce, with the city of Burlington, with our sponsors, with our vendors. I mean, it's literally takes everybody. It takes everybody to kind of figure out, where we're going to land and how we operate a large venue with large crowds. Yeah, I mean, it's been a challenging process. It's been a learning process. But at the end of the day, we know that there's going to be some bumps in the road, but we'll eventually get through it. This is something that really nobody's ever experienced before in their life. So it's it's tricky. It's a tricky situation. It's a tricky situation from how do you operate an office during a pandemic? How do you operate a ballpark during a pandemic? How do you deal with hotels and busing and everything else? So a lot of moving parts, a little extra level of making sure that we have safety protocols in place for our fans, for our sponsors, for our players, for our staff. But we'll figure it out. We're moving forward. I think at the end of the day, people are really anxious and excited to get outside, see their friends, see their family members and really take in a baseball game, because it's been a long time since they've been able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're certainly excited to help continue to develop our product and get some baseball on the field finally after this, again, another tricky couple of years.
Before we get back to our interview with CJ Knudsen, we want to share a message from our friends at 78 Sports. Do you have kids playing baseball or softball? We all know practice time is limited, especially here in New England. Not to mention the cost of lessons and cage time can add up very quickly. Save yourself time and money by giving your kids what they need to work on their game at home. Our friends at 78 Sports can help you put together the perfect at-home training setup. Whether you want to start small with just a tee and hitting net, or looking to set up a full cage with turf and a pitching machine, they have you covered. The team at 78 Sports has designed and installed hundreds of home and commercial sports training facilities, so let them help you plan the perfect setup for your space. Visit 78 Sports website at 78sports.com. That's SEVENTY 8 sports.com. For a limited time, by mentioning Back to the Futures, you'll receive a 10% discount off your order. That's SEVENTY 8 sports.com. Now, back to CJ Knudsen.
And we just said we're eagerly awaiting the start of the season and to see some new faces as well as some old faces on the field. So can you give us a bit of a preview for some names to expect on the 2021 Lake Monsters?
Yeah, Pete and Morgan are actually working on the roster right now. So there's still some changes in terms of additions and subtractions that are happening every single day. Some of the players are still playing, obviously, college baseball. They could be in the playoffs or getting ready for the playoffs. Some guys could be injured. Some guys may or may not want to play this year. And so it's so it's really a revolving door in terms of what's happening. The one thing that'll be interesting from our standpoint is once the season starts and once the players arrive, there shouldn't be that much player movements as in years past with the Oakland Athletics or Nationals in this marketplace, because you'd have guys coming and going every single day. They're coming and going from the different levels. Guys could get released, they can get injured, they can get promoted, or they can get demoted, and so it'll be nice to be able to have some consistency in terms of our players. It looks like we'll have a couple guys from Vermont that have ties to Vermont that played high school baseball here, which is awesome, because there's only been a handful of guys that played on the Expos organization or the Nationals organization that, have or had ties to Vermont. So it's neat to be able to start having a little bit more of a local flavor. We love the requirement by the Futures League, but at least 13 players in your roster need to have some sort of connection to New England, either from New England or going to a New England institution, which is great. It's kind of a neat thing. And we love the home run derby after extra innings, after the 10th inning. We think that's great. Every time we say that tell that story to our fans or our sponsors, they get a big chuckle, and a lot of the kids are looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, the home run derby to win a stable in the Futures League back once again this year. And yeah, local flavor is spread all over the league. So really excited to see the Vermont local flavor in the equation. And from the Futures League to your personal background, you started with the Vermont franchise when you were an intern in 1995, as you mentioned. You rose to assistant GM in 97 and were the GM in 2000. What was it like to go all the way from intern to GM in the organization and now return as the senior vice president?
Well, it was scary at times, to say the least. They kind of hand over the keys to the franchise in 2000 when I was named GM. I think I might have been the youngest GM in the country at that point. I think I was 25. Trying to run a baseball franchise, and definitely didn't have the answers. Still don't have all the answers today, but it was a ton of fun. We had great memories, great partnerships with our sponsors, with the fans, with the staff, players. It was a ton of fun. I remember one of my fondest memories, even though it wasn't very fun at the time, but in 2003, we were the worst baseball team in America. So our record was 19 wins, 56 losses. And so it was, tough to lose 56 games, but we did. The season opened up 0-8. And so that's when I decided to sleep in the dugout until we won a game. So we put out a press release on a Friday afternoon, which normally you don't put out a press release on Friday afternoon unless it's bad news. And so it says Expos GM dreams of victory. We put it out, and sure enough, the next night we lost, and spent 7 long nights in the dugout. And with each loss, we'd add another member of the dugout, of our front office staff, to the dugout. And so it eventually became known as the slump party, since we were in such a bad slump. It got a ton of local media attention, and then it turned into a national media story, and then went international, went on the BBC, and then did a radio interview with NPR on All Things Considered, their radio show. So it was a ton of fun. It sold some tickets for us, sold some merchandise for us, and it was just, kind of taking something that was pretty much out of our control and turning it into a positive promotion for the community.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Hopefully, let's not have that happen this year with the Lake Monsters, but you never know. Maybe you sleep in the dugout when they win all of their games. Who knows?
Maybe. Well, if I'm going to sleep in the dugout, I'm going to make sure that Pete Wilk is with me, so that way he and I can sleep in it together.
There you go. And you touched on the crazy coincidence earlier. You were with the Norwich Sea Unicorns right until early this spring, and they just announced they're joining the Futures League. How was your time with the organization, and what's it going to be like to play them during summer ball?
Oh, from my standpoint, it's going to be great. Playing the Sea Unicorns. Obviously, I was with that ball club for 11 years. I'm kind of helping with the transition a little bit in terms of them joining the league here. And we actually open up our first home game is against the Norwich Sea Unicorns. It's very apropos for myself. That was a really fun experience, really helping to relaunch a franchise in Norwich, Connecticut in 2010. Dodge Stadium's a beautiful stadium. It's a large stadium. It seats about 6,600 people. There's 18 luxury suites upstairs, which are beautiful. We have an indoor batting cage, gorgeous indoor retail store, big clubhouses. So it's much different from Centennial Field, going from really one of the oldest ballparks in the country to a rather, semi-new ballpark. It was built in 1995 for the AA New York Yankees. It's a great field, great market. So I think it was, really, really good decision in terms of Norwich joining the Futures League, because it's a great facility. Geographically, it's really close to New Britain, which is a natural partner and natural rivalry. Norwich is also close to Worcester and Brockton. So, from a geography standpoint, it makes perfect sense to join the Futures League. And that market's used to a short season, baseball, since we had the New York Penn League there for 10 years.
Yeah, really excited. I visited Dodge Stadium many times as a kid. Beautiful stadium. Really excited for Norwich to be in the league, as well as the Lake Monsters. And we got to ask, you touched on the fact that they were the Connecticut Tigers in 2010, and you were there for the name change and the rebrand. So what was that process like? I got to know how you ended up on Sea Unicorns, which is a fantastic name, but a little bit out there.
Yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. We were getting ready. We signed a 10-year lease with the city of Norwich. And part of the deal was, we wanted to put the name Norwich back into the actual name itself. Which the city of Norwich asked us to take a look at as well, which we think it made perfect sense. Then at that point, we teamed up with Brandiose, the marketing company, very well known. They do a lot of baseball teams, rebrands, marketing. They actually did a rebrand of the Vermont Lake Monsters logo a few years ago, which was a home run. It obviously looks great. And so we were looking for a name in Norwich that kind of ties into that local market, into that local community. And Brandiose helped us interview people, helped us do a lot of marketing research, and figured out, what is that area known for, which we had an idea, but, these guys are the experts at it. Norwich itself is a captain's town. A lot of old whaling vessels were there. And a lot of the captains would sail back and forth to the West Indies, trading goods and all sorts of stuff. And they'd come back with these folklores and these tales of what they would see while on the sea. So that's where we were able to kind of narrow it down, kind of have a name your team contest. The fans helped to provide feedback. And it came down to a couple of ones. It came down to Norwich Narwhals, which obviously rolls off the tongue pretty well. Norwich Sea Unicorns, Mill Mules was another one, because that's a lot of old mills in that town. The Thermos Company started in Norwich, Connecticut. So a lot of history in that area. Sea Unicorns is kind of where it landed. You say Sea Unicorns, and fans say, "Well, what is that?" And then they Then they look at the logo and realize that it's a narwhal, and it's a narwhal, and there's a couple different logos that's tied in to obviously the ocean, into the Navy. There's a major sub base down in that area, so that's there's a lot of reasons why it's called the Sea Unicorns. But the response from the market, was great. We sold a ton of merchandise. People think it's a very strange, weird name, which I think is a good thing. It'll be a lot of fun having the Sea Unicorns taking on the Lake Monsters. So two very unique names.
Definitely will be good for publicity, especially with the new teams.
Before we get back to our interview with CJ Knudsen, we wanted to share a message from our friends at On Demand Storage. Are you tired of living in clutter? Do you need more space around your home or office? Are you sick of visiting your self-storage unit? Does your business need a way to securely and conveniently store excess materials? On Demand Storage will pick up your items directly from your location and bring them in storage for you. When you want something back, give us a call and we can deliver it back right away. We bring convenience to the outdated self-storage process. Visit ondemandstorage.com and submit an inquiry. During sign-up, mention the Futures League and receive 50% off your storage pickup. Once again, that's ondemandstorage, all one word, .com. We now return to our interview with CJ Knudsen.
You seem to enjoy your time, obviously, in Norwich and back when you're in Burlington. How is this going to be a little different, whether it's now that you're not the GM or you're the senior vice president? How have your roles kind of, I guess, evolved is the word I'm looking for?
It's been, from my standpoint, it's been a lot of fun, being the GM of Vermont Lake Monsters years ago, going to Connecticut, serving as their, senior vice, or serving as their, I guess, technically vice president of operations for the first year, and then basically taking over as a GM and the senior vice president for the club in Connecticut for a number of years. And then I was moving back. I moved back to Burlington, Vermont after the 2013 season to start a family. That's where the ownership group that owns Norwich asked me to stay involved with the ball club, which obviously I would wanted to really do. And so that's where we were able to figure out a way to have Dave Skirmahorn be the GM, take care of the day-to-day operations, and then I'd help assist running the ball club from my house in Vermont. And so, making the commute back and forth to Norwich was a ton of fun from my standpoint. It allowed me to get back to Vermont. And it's a very similar situation here. I live in Rutland, Vermont. I come up to Burlington every single week. I'm up here for a couple of days at a time here. And then we'll eventually bring aboard a general manager to help with the day-to-day operations. But it's been, a ton of fun trying to really launch this franchise and hiring people and figuring out the marketplace and figuring out, sponsorships, and the different steps you need to take to make sure that you're ready to play baseball for the season opener.
Absolutely. And we talked about local flavor on the teams, but it's great to have local flavor in the front office as well. So great to hear that you're back in Vermont 100%.
It's been great, because there's a lot of people that, I haven't seen for 11 years, to be able to come back to Burlington and see the city and see how the city's changed and grown and the additions to it, it's pretty awesome. I was fortunate enough, last night after I was working, long day, got a quick little run in on the shores of Lake Champlain, and it's just a beautiful place to work, beautiful place to live and visit. So Burlington is it's a great city in general, and so to be able to have baseball here for a long time is a bonus for everybody.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and we cannot wait to get up there. And you guys obviously were a professionally affiliated team in the minor league. So how does your perspective change going from a minor league affiliate to having college athletes in your organization?
I think from a fan's perspective and from a fan ballpark experience, it's pretty much going to be identical. So I think the guys will continue to play hard, if not harder, for us in terms of trying to make sure that they're performing well, in the hopes that they're going to get signed to a professional contract at some point down the road here. From the fans' perspective, they're going to see the same guys wearing the same uniforms and the same logos and things like that. So I think, the response from the marketplace doesn't really seem to matter in terms of if we're affiliated or not. I think their biggest thing is just making sure that we're going to be here for baseball. People can come out and have a hot dog and a Coke, maybe get a giveaway item and watch some fireworks. So it's that's, to me, into this marketplace, seems to be the most important thing at this point.
Right. So you talked about your slumber party in the dugout. You talked about what the fans can expect. Is there any other big memories that stand out from Centennial Field from your time there?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in this area. I played high school baseball on that field. Played 2 games on that field, so it's just really neat to be able to kind of go back to that facility and help run that facility and help take care of it. And so as a high school kid to play on it, to be the GM for the Expos and Lake Monsters, and then kind of come back for the third time. Centennial is a pretty special place. It's the premier franchise and premier field in the state of Vermont, and so it's great to be able to have that. And the support from the sponsors has been awesome. The support from the media has been great. It's a great ballpark. It's in a residential neighborhood. So it's much different from Dodge Stadium, where Dodge Stadium it's got a huge parking lot that can hold 2,000 cars to Centennial Field can hold about 150 cars. So it's definitely different facilities, but it's a lot of fun being able to work in baseball and continue to work in baseball for hopefully a long time here.
Yeah, and your love for baseball extends beyond the field. You also have a company for baseball signage. If you could tell the fans what Grand Slam Signs is, and how did your passion for signs turn into this company?
You guys did some good research. Yeah, thanks for the plug, by the way. Yeah, when I left the Connecticut Tigers after the 2013 season to move back to Vermont, I figured I'd be out of the baseball world, and so I was looking for some opportunities to figure out what I could do for a potential career. And so I knew in this marketplace in Burlington that there's only a couple signage companies, and the rates were really expensive. So I figured I could use and leverage some of the relationships I had on a national basis to create Grand Slam Signs. And so Grand Slam Signs was born in January 2014, and really specializes in producing signs for sports venues, for schools, for businesses. And I use a production house in New Hampshire to do all my printing. And so it works out pretty well, and helps the customers, helps create a business for myself. It helps the customers spread the word. So it's been fun and entertaining, and I've used a lot of my skills through minor league baseball and learning how to run a business to translate that to running my own business. So it's kind of a fun time.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's nothing like a little entrepreneurship for sure.
Yeah, Grand Slam Signs, always a hit.
There you go. And before we get to our final segment, how about a message to Lake Monster fans as we get closer and closer to opening day?
Yeah, we just want to say thank you guys very much for your support, especially for this season and for many years to come, and also for the past 27 years, coming out to the ballpark and making sure that, the franchise is successful. I think a lot of people were concerned that baseball was not going to be back in Burlington after the 2020 season. Like Chris English, you're really making the investment and making the time and making the dream stay here in Burlington. I think that was huge. Not a lot of people would do that. He's taking the risk, and especially during a pandemic. This is not an easy situation to try to purchase a business, run a business, and trying to relaunch a franchise after being away for basically a year. If we had 6 months to get ready for the season, that'd be one thing. But we're basically getting ready for season in a month and a half, 2 months is 2 months is a little extra challenging. But we're up to the task here, and hopefully it'll be successful not only for this season but for many years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing and exciting to see you guys in the Sea Unicorns take this new leap that was kind of thrown at you. So that's awesome, and we're happy to see that.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, we're excited that we're here, and can't wait. Hopefully, we'll go 68 wins and 0 losses. We'll see what happens.
That seems to be everyone's plan.
Well, hopefully somebody's right, but we'll see.
We now move on to our final segment. It's called Quick Hits. It's presented by Zephyr, the official on-field hat of the Futures League. Zephyr, high quality and innovative design since 1993. So CJ, we wanted to ask a few more questions to our audience to get to know you better. Is that okay?
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, let's roll. Favorite player to come through the organization, whether it was current or your prior experience with the team?
Probably Jason Bay. Jason Bay was obviously a great baseball player. The funny story about him is his mom was calling me all the time because he's Canadian and couldn't get a work visa to play for us. And so it was fun talking to her. And but he obviously had a great career, and he started right here in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Jason Bay, a well-known name around the Massachusetts parts as well as the Vermont parts for sure. And then how about favorite ballpark you've attended as a fan?
I'd probably say, Fenway, is obviously a classic. Yankee Stadium, that's another classic. But yeah, I've been to a lot of ballparks. I lived in St. Louis for a little while. St. Louis was a ton of fun to cheer on the Cardinals and go to Busch Stadium. Love going to minor league parks. Minor league parks are kind of my love and my passion. I go there not only as a fan, but I go there to look at the business operation to see, who they have for sponsors, what do they have for offerings for concessions, in-game promotions. So it allows me to enjoy the game of baseball a little bit, but also try to learn and steal some of their ideas as well.
Yeah, you're always working a little bit when you're
That's right.
at a baseball game.
Yeah.
And then how about a baseball stadium or a sporting event that's on your bucket list?
Well, I went to the Super Bowl, saw the Super Bowl, saw the New York Giants, which is my favorite team, beat up on the Patriots. So which was great.
Oh.
That was their one loss that season, and so I was there to see it in Arizona. I've yet to go to a World Series game, so I'd like to take in a World Series game, and that'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah, that Patriots comment hurt a little bit for me and John.
No, we're not allowed to talk about that here.
That's right.
But yeah, World Series game is certainly on our bucket list as well. And how about if you were stepping up to the dish or coming in as a pitcher, what would be your walk-up music?
Oh, great one. Great question. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Probably something by Van Halen, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, that would be the stadium would be rocking with that on. 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, something like an old school, classic rock to get the crowd pumped up here and get myself pumped up before either taking the mound or heading to the plate here.
Absolutely. And then how about favorite MLB team and favorite player, whether it's current or historical?
I'd probably say my favorite Major League Baseball teams are the Red Sox. Growing up in Vermont, it's a little easier. It's easy to follow those guys a little bit, which is great. I've been to Fenway a fair amount of my life, which is awesome. As for my favorite player, growing up, it was always Ozzie Smith. So Ozzie Smith in St. Louis. I just loved watching him play as a baseball player. I got a chance to meet him when I was living in St. Louis, and he was a really nice guy. And so got a couple autographed items from him, and he's basically my favorite player. When I was growing up, and probably is still one of my favorite players these days too.
With a name like Ozzy, you certainly don't need a nickname. But what about you? Do you have any baseball nicknames or nicknames around?
Good questions. My nickname in baseball is called Thor. Yeah, the story behind that is our manager years ago. He lives in California, and he was our manager for the Expos and Lake Monsters for a little bit. His name's Tony Barbone, and so we called him Bones. And so the first time I ever met him, shook his hand and said, "Oh, I'm CJ," and he's like, "You don't look like a CJ. You look like a Thor." And then that name stuck, and it's been stuck for probably about 25 years now, 26 years. So that one's still there. Yeah, which is a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you superstitious? Obviously, the sleeping in the dugout, but in the normal routine of a season without a slump, do you have any superstitions?
Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, actually, when we were in Connecticut, first year there, I think 2010, maybe it might have been 2011, our bus broke down going from Western New York to Norwich, Connecticut. And we had a home game that night. So we had a packed house of about 4,000 or 5,000 people there. And it happened to be on a Friday night, and it happened to be on Friday the 13th. Our bus broke down on Friday the 13th, never got there in time. And we had a packed place. So what we did was basically invited fans out to go on the field, take batting practice, shag fly balls, play catch. We had music going, we had concessions going, and we really took something that was just something that was out of our control and tried to make a great end of it. People really appreciated that. We obviously exchanged their tickets for other future games, but that happened to be on Friday the 13th. ESPN picked up on it, and so they did a live interview with us, and the whole topic was baseball and superstitions, and just literally happened to be that our bus broke down and eventually got to the park around 9:00 that night, but obviously we didn't play.
Yeah, you hear those stories a lot, but making something out of it is the best thing you can do. This is a Back to the Future's, I think it's a fan favorite. Owen's been telling me, I'm still new, but are you a bubblegum guy or a sunflower seeds guy?
Ooh, I'd probably go seeds. Nothing like taking some sunflower seeds and watching some baseball and chewing on them and spitting them out. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
Definitely. And when you're at the park, either as a fan or for whatever, what's your favorite ballpark food?
I guess you got to go hot dogs. I mean, hot dogs are the natural, and that's there's nothing like a hot dog, especially on a hot summer day. It just tastes so much better than when you make it at your house. You're there, and the sights and sounds and smells of a baseball game are pretty awesome. And I think that's what people are looking forward to for 2021 and beyond, is to get back to that normalcy and get back to that opportunity to walk on the concourse, hear music playing, hear the crack of the bat and the ball, and the roar of the crowd.
Alrighty, and last question of this quick hits segment. What's an all-time favorite baseball memory you have?
I think one of my all-time favorites is being at Centennial Field, on a sold-out night. We actually had ESPN there. We were the last Expos in baseball, summer of 2005. So the place was sold out, no tickets left. Sports Center broadcasted live from there, and it was just really interesting to see their stage set up and see how many people were interested and wanted to come out to support it. And so that was a pretty nutty day at the ballpark, but it was an interesting memory, an interesting moment to be a part of. So I was also part of on Sports Center for a couple of the pieces. It was their 50 and 50 states program, and it was just a really neat thing to be on ESPN and be on Sports Center as part of the Vermont Expos.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we're really excited for packed houses in Vermont this summer for Futures League baseball as well.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us today. Best of luck with everything, and we're really excited to visit and see you in Vermont very soon.
Thank you guys very much, and go Lake Monsters.
Go Lake Monsters indeed. This has been Season 3, Episode 3 of Back to the Futures, the official podcast of the Futures Collegiate Baseball League. We have new episodes coming out every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. We're streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see everyone soon.